So I just finished 2 free trials of E's Dirty Rotten Scandal, America's Next Top Model, Part 1 and Part 2. Today I'll be diving in a little deeper about Part 2. I feel like it was the juiciest part of this two-part documentary. I was super excited to watch Angela, who was disqualified during Cycle 17, which was an all-star season. And I just remember watching her season and I was gagged when she was disqualified. And I forgot what year it aired, but it was 2014 or something. I don't know. It was, but I couldn't find anything on the internet. And so I just always was like, I need to know what happened. And so to finally see Angelique come through, deliver the goods, speak in a way that delivered her message home, I was so happy to see her. And we will go a little bit deeper into her story, but I honestly, that was the part of this documentary that I'm like, I need to watch that. So he made it very difficult to watch this documentary because it, unlike all their other episodes for Dirty Rotten Scandals, Dr. Phil, Price is Right, they're all being posted, but America's Next Top Model isn't. So I had to jump through a ton of hoops just to watch this. So I feel your pain. I'm right there with you. I'm like, just post it on YouTube. Nobody has time for a dumb free trial. But anyways, let's dive right into it. And so the first one I got for you was The Big Lie, which was you'll be rich. The fact that no one, not even the winners of America's Next Top Model, became rich or wealthy, or I think maybe the earlier seasons, I feel like a lot of them didn't. And so specifically, Cycle 1 winner Adrienne Curry, they showed an old clip of her and she was explaining how Adrienne was like, I think the judges told her, they're like, if you win America's Next Top Model, you are set for life. You are a millionaire overnight. And Adrienne Curry believed it. And she told her family. And so when she won the show, she's like, wow, my life is going to change forever. And the documentary totally exposed the truth. And that absolutely none of that happened. She was not set for life. She did not become a millionaire overnight, and it was all a fantasy. She ended up just doing convention work. I think if you go to the Women's Expo, there's America's Next Top Model, Cycle 1 winner, selling, I don't know, giving out lotion or so. That was her experience. And I think what genuinely made it worse, of course, right, was Tyra, right? Tyra would go on do media interviews, appearances, promoting America's Next Top Model at the time. And the way that she would hype the show up, you all, is how we got to where we are today, right? Tyra lied from the beginning. They showed a clip of Tyra speaking or doing an old interview, and she was pretty much like, Adrienne Curry, our first winner, is making a lot of money, a lot. Girl, shut the. No, she's not. And so then they make this a point in the documentary that when this was happening, early 2000s, there was social media was in its infancy, so there was essentially no way to fact check anything that Tyra was saying. So if Tyra said it was fact, well, you're not right. You took it as fact. And so then the reality was that winners were broke. Winners were doing unpaid appearances. Cycle 2 winner Joanna, who looked beautiful in the documentary. Oh, I just couldn't stop staring at her. Ooh, girl, you look good. Yes. I don't know how old she was, but she looked really good. But Joanna mentioned how she was doing appearances. She actually had more appearances, but she wasn't getting paid for any of them. And she was sleeping on couches. And I was like, how was that even possible? And so there was just such a disconnect from the beginning, right? Between what the expectation or the fantasy of what a winner of America's Next Top Model would entail versus the reality, which is you're not getting paid, you're broker than before, you're sleeping on couches, and you just won the biggest reality show making millions of dollars. Make it make sense, right? And so I wanted to bring this up too was that they also mentioned in the documentary that Tyra really struggled at the beginning of her career or as a model, right? And so I'm sure it was a lot of sleeping on couches. And so I say that because to me, it just sounds like if Tyra went through a really hard time as a model, she wanted them to go through the same thing. And you're going to see a common theme of that where Tyra, her insecurities and we mentioned that much more throughout the documentary, or through my analysis, but It's just all around bad, you all. So I think, and then this kind of leads into my second one was they were essentially not paid and they were fully controlled, you all. Oh, sorry, I had to take a quick restroom break. But back to the fully controlled. So right off the bat, none of these girlies are getting royalties. This show is being rerun. It's on what, Netflix or who? One of those two. But they get no royalties. So Tyra is still making money off of this show. She's still making money off of their likeness, their face, them, the contestants. But I think one part of the documentary that honestly really bugged me, and I'm like, it was the fact that they weren't essentially paid at all. I think they mentioned a couple of times that they were paid $37 a day for food, or I don't know, but they mentioned $37, but I'm like, even then, they made it sound like they didn't have time for food. It just was, but other than $37 for what they described, 12 to 16-hour days, and even cameras while they slept. And to me, that's not a competition, you all. That is unpaid labor. You gotta be kidding me. These girls, a lot of them in the documentary mentioned they weren't allowed to have any phones, they couldn't have any outside contact. The lights were always on, even at night when they were all sleeping. This part, I was like, dang, that's crazy. But they didn't even know what day or time it was because they didn't let them have iPods or anything that let them know the day and the time. And nope. Can you imagine the type of confusion that creates with what day is it? Can you imagine going weeks without knowing what freaking day it is, what current event is happening? That is insane. That is absolutely wild to me, but it gets even worse, you all. Oh my gosh. And they said that if you broke the rules, honey, you were punished. I'm like, oh my God, punished? And so one of those things that they mentioned was they said that if you broke the confidentiality agreement, I guess if you told your mom or whatever, that they threatened contestants with, we will garnish your wages for the rest of your life. I was like, oh my God. And so looking back at it now, clearly like that, I don't think that was a realistic threat. But the type of manipulation and threat that is so gross, garnish my wages. Oh my gosh. Just the really shady tactics used by these producers, because producers, it takes a village, honey. It wasn't just Tyra makes a big bulk of it, but producers, which I'm sure they got direction from Tyra, but oh my gosh, never mind. I guess it all does lead back to Tyra. But anyways, and so something else was Tyra really did build an empire because America's Next Top Model didn't just stay within America. This is now a global franchise, you all, because apparently Tyra, which at the end of the day, I guess I do have to admit that America's Next Top Model is a show produced to entertain and to produce high revenue, right? To make money. And so I understand Tyra wanting trademarking America's Next Top Model and then selling that the franchise or the rights to produce their own version of it, like Asia's Next Top Model, Africa's Next Top Model, all the other ones that are around. But I'm like, that's money, honey. And they're right. That is an empire. Let's see. And so they mentioned that they're like, while the girls were struggling, going through hell in this reality series, like Tyra Banks, she built an empire. She built a global franchise. And so that, to an extent, is to be commended. I do think that is, I don't know, maybe I'll take it back. But I just think Tyra really made an empire off the backs of these contestants. But moving on, though, then my next takeaway was, and this is a big one, you all. I don't know if you can see these, but casting vulnerability. AKA, this wasn't random casting, you all. One quote that Tyra says in the documentary was, we don't cast for conflict, we just cast strong personalities. I'm like, Tyra Banks, if you don't quit with this wordplay, Shakespeare, I will scream. Because it's just the other way around. You're casting strong personalities for conflict. I don't know. But anyways, specifically that though, I feel like they chose girls, and I feel like we've all saw it throughout the series, was that they really chose girls who were struggling, who had deep psychological trauma, things that sexual assault and other really hard things, instability and desperation, financial desperation. And as many of us know, when you're desperate, you're willing to go to get along, right? I think one really cool quote that they mentioned was, If you think this is your only shot, you'll tolerate anything. That's a good point though. If you're in your young 20s, early teens or whatever, right? And you need money, your family needs money, and you can go on this show and perhaps become something. I totally get wanting to go for that. And I just think that, as we will see with further my analysis, but they really exploited that to the nth degree, and they exploited it in really disgusting ways. And then a lot of these have Tyra's fingerprints all over it. I don't even feel like anybody can twist these around and be like, whoa, Tyra no, as you are about to see, no, Tyra had her fingerprints all over it. But their casting was very manipulative and it was very calculating, right? I'm sure they calculated this just right. And then something else, I think I mentioned this in part one, but they do go through they go through psych evals. So never mind, I'm gonna mention that part one. So keep an eye out for part one, because if you're liking what I got so far, I'm gonna come out with part one. I just wanted to start with part two because I honestly, oh my gosh, we're about to talk about Angelique. So part one, it's gonna come out soon. Just doing a little backwards this time, but make sure you're following and subscribing. I really could count on the support. So thank you. But oh my gosh, what I've been waiting for, you guys. Oh my gosh. Angelique, the setup. Boom. Oh my gosh, you guys. I don't even think I need my cards for this one. So Angelique, as many of us know, appeared twice on two different seasons of America's Next Top Model. I believe cycle crap. I don't know the early cycle 4, 5, or I don't know. I'll put the correct one right here. But cycle that and cycle 17. The first time she made top 4. The second time, well, we all know what happened there. So during the second time, Angelique was disqualified. I remember watching the finale, and then this weird finale comes on saying that Angelique was disqualified, giving only a very cryptic reason. And I was like, what? Back then, even when this episode aired, I was like, what is happening? I was like, no way. And so then we never really found out. And so